Oi, oi! So, content this season is going to be a little bit more sporadic than before. I will be doing a monthly thing for sort of anti-post insight. So essentially sort of my views on the races. I'll go through the majority of them at Cheltenham, just tell you where my standing point is on certain horses. As I've touched on in previous videos, I won't be doing anti-post punting this season, but that doesn't mean I can't steer you in the direction of those that I would be inclined to fancy, or the ones that I would be interested in at the right prices. But also something else that's going to come out, this won't be a monthly thing, this will just be a one-off now, is I've done something on the Cheltenham Mental Facebook page where I've asked a few people the horses they fancy for some of those. So that will basically give us a little bit of a feel of what the general view is for certain horses' targets and certain races at the festival. We did it last year. See if I can dig out a link for the video to stick somewhere on here. But it was reasonable. Like, a lot of people fancied horses to go in the right directions. Prices dropped as you'd expect, but it just goes to show that although there's lots of content that will go out there for the anti-post side of things, I think the opinions really only start to come to the fore as the season goes on, and we've seen the running as it goes. Like, I think most of us have got a similar handle on most races, targets, things like that. So yeah, I'm going to have a look at the weekend stuff coming up. So we've got some decent racing even tomorrow. I'm recording this Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's some big names out there, some graded races, some listed action. So I'm going to skim through via the Racing Post site, try and keep it as short as I can, because A, I know we need to have the information in there, but B, I know that for retention, can get a bit boring listening to me. Also, I was back on the race course this weekend. So Friday was at Cheltenham. Saturday I had the boys who was doing some Halloween-y prep stuff with him. Then Sunday I was lucky enough to get to Aintree, meet up with a good few guys off of Tweeder. Real good day out there, apart from the tyre valve bursting on the way back and driving 200 miles on a space saver. But save that for another day. So starting to get some more footage for the race course. I'm going to kick off with a little video just showing that weekendy stuff, and then I'll get onto the screen things. That video going up will give me the time to get the laptop going. And yeah, without further ado, let's crack on. So I'm going to have a quick look at the races for the rest of this week. We've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to quickly skim through. I decided to go for Irish Racing website as opposed to the Racing Post, just because this may be something different for people to look at. And yeah, I'll show you some of the relevant points of maybe why it's worth looking at another source. The main thing I like about this is right at the bottom, it gives us the previous year. It's like a nice view of the horses that are going in there, the jockeys, the trainers, so we get to see bits in there. And they also do a few different bits as well, depending on the type of race that it is, but they'll put some little markers in there to say about how horses perform. Maybe in like handicap races, they might say if a horse has won under or over a slightly higher or lower mark. We've got bits of form on the side as well, trainers form, trainer jockey combos, jockeys in form, gives you some market movers for that day. But we're not here to talk about all of that sort of stuff. We're here to look at some of the action over in Ireland. So there is a number of races that potentially look interesting over the coming few days. Like I said, there's some listed races, there's some graded action as well. I'm not going to be able to touch on everything because I want to keep it fairly concise, but I'm going to try and cover off the ones that I think need to be mentioned.
So the first and most obvious one that I think a lot of people will have on their radar anyway, but I'll chuck them in here, is Gwilly Billy for Cheveley Park, Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore. It's like a fairly well regarded horse from what I've seen on like other people's views. People like the look of the horse basically. I'm not overly sold on him so far. I know it sounds a little bit premature maybe, but I think it's probably just as premature to suggest that he's like a little bit of a beast. He pulled up in that first point to point, and you can see out there track leaders, no extra, pulled up approaching the straight, kept on well and then went and won after. That was on slower ground, but it was like the following season really. So it was March 2020 was that first point, November 20 was the point after. Like that's enough time for a horse to have been able to progress. No doubt that he was impressive with the right sort of connections, but that's one that's on people's radar. How things are going to go with him, we'll just have to see, won't we? We'll have to see how the racing goes. I don't think there was too much more at Clonmel for the Thursday, so we can try and skim ourselves. I'll say that. It depends what's in the bumper. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing slightly here. Irish Racing is a great website to look at. Like I say, it does have the bits at the bottom that help. It does have bits as well to talk with handicap marks and figures and things like that. Obviously, everyone's used to the Racing Post, and the Racing Post is great. That's my normal place that I will go into. But like here, when one rated 106, rated 103, when one rated 103, rated 98, like it just gives you some little like quick citers. See a horse like this, Belgrave down the bottom is rated 77. Admittedly, it's an old one now, but you see some of the other like winning form that's in there. So just another way to maybe look at some of the racing. Right, we can skim Friday here. Down Royal is obviously the big one that that we'll want to look at. We don't have final declarations for the weekend stuff. But we do have final declarations for the Friday at Down Royal. Hollow Games, he was one that I put up in the hacked up horse racing for the bumper last year. Gordon Elliott was quite sweet on this horse as a nice type. I think he really does tick the boxes as an Albert Bartlett type anyway. He's entered in this 2 mile 6, that ticks the box for it. He did hold an entry for over 2 mile on the Saturday, but like a load of horses that win the Albert Bartlett have run over 2 miles and show 2 mile speed, so that doesn't necessarily put me off, but we'll obviously see how he goes. You can look at the previous winners that we've had in here. So we've got your Farouk Delam, we've got Fury Road for Gordon, Monbeg Notorious and Holy Roy before that. So there's lots of horses that have done well in there. And if we look at the likes of a Farouk Delam, I know he didn't make it to the festival, and then we look at the likes of Fury Road, they end up as the potato race horses for Gordo. So again, very well found, but be very interested to see how that horse gets on. There's another couple of races that are interesting on the Friday. I'm just having a look at now. So the Wicked Hurdle, there was obviously talk of Quilixolos going in, but the conditions of the race, you can't have won a race before May 2020, so waste of an entry fee because he didn't actually qualify for the race. But it does show the intention from Henry de Bromhead and Cheveley that he will be staying over hurdles again this season. I was talking to a few guys when we were at Aintree on Sunday that I missed the days when the Irish used to send something over the Christmas hurdle at Kempton. Forheen used to come over and mop up there. And it just makes me wonder whether Honeysuckle obviously wins in and around Christmas as she wants to do. Henry's got Quilixolos. I wonder whether he might be a Christmas hurdle horse for Kempton. Be very exciting if they did send him over, but obviously you'd think that Henry de Bromhead would be sending something over for the King George. So obviously it's a long way to get to then, but previous years winners of this race, we've got Aspire Tower, Course Sublime, Bedrock, Melon. Like there's some nice names in there. You go back to Jet Ski winning a champion hurdle after that. It's a nice enough race. I think looking at this, Zanna here, I thought was a bit unfortunate. I say unfortunate. Like I feel like he was probably could have finished closer than he did, but we'll just have to see, won't we? He'd be the one that would be possibly the most interesting for the rest of the season, but given the fact that he's a 4-year-old giving weight away to other horses that's in here, admittedly they are inferior rated horses, you just have to see how things go. But to all intents and purposes, Zanna here should be winning that on the comeback trail, but I wouldn't be wanting to back him in there. What else have we got? Decent racing though, to be fair. Right, so yeah, the 2.5 mile Novices Chase, Envoy Land's won that, Sam Crow's won that in the last couple of years, so we know the sort of aeroplanes they are, and we know the types of races they go for as well, so it's marsh types of horses. Vanillier that won the Albert Bartlett's in there. don't really think that's going to be very strong form looking forward. I know we had the decent Albert Bartlett the year before with Monkfish, but the Albert Bartlett, I like the race. I think the winner, it deserves to be treated in its own isolation, but I'm not sure Vanillier is going to scale the heights that a lot of people think he will. Beacon Edge really interests me. I think Beacon Edge, arguably winning a Grade 2 in open company, is more impressive than winning the Albert Bartlett. So I think Beacon Edge is fairly solid. Obviously, falling over hurdles in his last start is not the slightest bit ideal, but like I don't think I'll be punting. It depends how the prices go up, but I'd potentially be looking maybe to take Vanillier on with Beacon Edge. Something interesting with Beacon Edge though, Noel Mead had 6-shooter run on Sunday. We know I love 6-shooter. It was a great chasing performance by him. He did talk about, he wondered whether some of his horses might need their first run. So we'll see how something like Beacon Edge goes. But I suspect if Beacon Edge goes in, then it would make me think, happy days, the yard didn't need the run, yada yada. If someone like Beacon Edge underperforms, then it would make me think, maybe 6-shooter was an even more impressive winner on that Sunday. But obviously Elliott's had the last 2 winners of it. He's got Grand Parody in there, proper horse as well. So while I'm looking at Beacon Edge to take on Vanillier with it, Grand Parody will be there. It's going to be a fairly competitive race, I think. So that's a good one to watch. Then, I know there's not much in the handicap chase. Then we've got the bumper. Now, this is where there was a few that were entered. I'm interested to see who's actually come in. None of them. So there was a few that were in here that were of sort of major interest, but no point talking about them. I might as well mention them. We're going to see them in other races, but there was American Mike. There is Cool Survivor that Gigginstown had picked up, even though Gigginstown, that was April sale last year, or this year, 2021, and Gigginstown was supposed to be winding things down in there. And then there's Bellator, which is the half-sister to Altior, so she might go in a mare's bumper on Sunday. But that's the Down Royal for Friday, so they're the races that we've got the final declarations for. We'll have a look, there is some British racing as well that I could probably skim myself into before Saturday, but we'll just go with Saturday stuff. We'll go over to Down Royal, we'll have a quick look at Wetherby, and we'll probably have a quick look at Ascot as well. As I say, I don't want to rush through these. I want to try and keep it fairly concise, but you guys all know the sort of things you should be looking for, I guess. I just really, more than anything, rather than telling you what to back or telling you what you should be doing, I just want to run through the races that I'm looking at maybe more as a priority. And just in case there's anything that you may be missing off or anything that you guys want to comment below that I maybe am missing, although obviously I'd have them in the bag. So this is a proper race. This 2-miler you can see here, Ballyadam, Envoy won it the last 2 years, both for Gordo. Both obviously went off, or well fancied for Supreme and Ballymore respectively when they went to Cheltenham. Hollow Games was the one that Gordon had entered. Like I say, that is declared for Friday, so we're all intents and purposes expecting him to go there. There isn't really anything else of note that's entered in this race. I wouldn't have thought from like my sort of shortlist and horses in there to follow. We can have a look at Mighty Potter. I can't remember what he did, to be fair, at the back end of last season. So it's Punchestown Festival bumper, Assertive Dayden Well Final Furlong. So potentially looks like quite a smart type. What was the purchase sales? A lot withdrawn. So we don't know what happened there. We could find purchase price and stuff coming off of Racing Post. Anywho, so Mighty Potter potentially could be the one that's going to run in there, and we know that obviously Gordo's done all right in the race before. Go a little bit further back, Noel Mead's got some winners that go in there as well, so maybe it's a race that he targets too, but again, isn't really anything that massively jumps out there. So I said I wasn't going to dwindle, and I said I wasn't going to talk about races that don't need to be talked about, and there I go, I've wolfed into one. So we've got the Ladbrokes Champion Chase. Grade 1 of the season, I think it's the first Grade 1 of the season. Absolute monster of a race. Frodon's going to be coming over for this. I like Frodon as a horse. This is just a very, very competitive and interesting race. Frodon will be ready for his life, is what Nichols has said. So I would not doubt that. Delta Work really needs to come into some sort of recovery mission. He's actually Gordon Elliott's highest rated chaser in training. So that sort of shows you the calibre of, maybe not the calibre, but maybe it shows you the sort of horses he's got to go to war with in that division this year. We know Manila Indo is an absolute weapon. Whether he's going to run it or not, I'm not 100% sure. But again, it looks like a tidy enough race. Galvin's obviously going to try and put himself, throw his hat in the ring for Gold Cup picture. It will be interesting to see what goes on. I wouldn't have a strong opinion in the race, but it's definitely one that I'd want to watch with a view to seeing maybe who's going to improve and who's going to come on for the runs after, as opposed to thinking, right, this is the time to go and smash into a Frodon and get into him. But it'll be an interesting race, it'll be a cracking race. It depends on final lineup, as depends to whether you'd ever have any balls to put some money on Frodon. Then we've got the I think it is basically like a graduation chase or like an intermediate chase. Envoy was always being targeted to go here. Obviously, we've had the fall at Cheltenham where he didn't really look right in the pre-parade ring. It does terrify me that a horse that's travelled twice to Cheltenham, for whatever reason, wasn't in the zone. I know there were stable moves as well, which maybe will affect more horses than others. But when you've got an absolute worldie like an Envoy Elan, you wouldn't think those sort of things should affect him. Obviously, it's come out after that he had, I think it was to do with his hip, had an issue. Pulled up at Punchestown when he tries 3 miles for the first time. So with that injury, learnt nothing about stamina, I suppose. This is a weak enough race for him to go into. And like when he was running in his novice chases last season, I think he scared a lot of horses off. So I don't really think we're going to find out a lot about him other than that he's fit enough to do himself justice. I would have been semi-tempted to hope there was going to be something in the race that I could take him on with, but there isn't going to be, so I wouldn't be looking to lay him. But I'm just really interested to see what they do with him for the rest of the season, really, because you look at the previous horses that have won these, you've got horses that go up in trip, like you've got your genuine stayers that tend to win these types of races. I do just wonder whether they could get away with dropping him back in trip just for a try. Because he always looked quick, didn't he, when he was a novice hurdler? But like Henry knows better than I do. So I'll be interested to see what they do with Envoy this season. I don't really know where to pitch him, to be honest with you. That's like as much as I can say. Like there's no doubt that he's a beast, isn't there? But we just need to see what sort of form he's coming back into and maybe just judge him slowly on this season. And of course, it is stepping into open company, and he bottled it against proper horses at Cheltenham and then at Punchestown. I know, again, the injury you could put to that, but we'll just have to see. So American Mike in the bumper, you can see, has entered up there. Cool Survivor in there as well for Gordon Elliott, and I think Belle down third from bottoms in there too. She, like I say, she could run Sunday, but they're the 3 bumper horses this weekend that will be having everyone cooing. I was kind of hoping that American Mike or Cool Survivor, one of them would run Friday, one would run Saturday, and then Belle would run Sunday. Then we've got 3 beasts that we're eyeing up them running against each other later in the season. You can't imagine Gordon's going to run the 2 of them against each other, so it would make me think we're not going to see one of these one of these horses this weekend. Hopefully they're not dogs, but really interested to see him. The Cool Survivor one, I think he was £170 grand purchase from the April sale at Cheltenham, so reasonable money. Giggy got involved, Gordon bought it on behalf of them. Just potential to be some nice types there. Now we'll have a look at, we'll go Wetherby, shall we? Let's go Wetherby. It's only really the Charlie Hall we want to look at, isn't it? Let's be honest. I suppose Bet365 hurdle will be interesting. So Paisley Park, Emma Lavelle has basically said he's going to run Saturday, and then how things pan out in this depends whether he goes over fences or not. I like Paisley. I was a bit deflated with how he ran last season, and I touched on it at the beginning of the season last year on Ante-Up that these are the sorts of horses that when they come back from an injury or an issue, they really should be winning first time up, given the fact that we're thinking they're the best in their division. The fact that he got beat in Newbury, like he still ran well, but it put me off a tiny bit. Then at Ascot, obviously he came back and was an unbelievable performance. So all of a sudden they fly back into your radar, but you have to really take that step back and just think, look, they've shown that they're not as good as they were. As a 9-year-old going 10 this year, he's going to be regressive. So I don't know. I think that the way to find some improvement with him potentially would be with a fence. So as much as I'd like to see him wind up in a stayers and then pull off this dream miracle thing that he comes back and gets his title back, I'd rather see him go over fences, to be honest. But that's not my decision to make, is it? And there's a few other potentially interesting ones in it, but like the main talking point for me in there is literally just going to be what goes on with Paisley. Like I'd like to. I don't want to see the horse go run and get beat, but I'd like to see Paisley over fences this season. So given this is a it's given like a sort of a middle-ish grade 2. I don't know. Like, am I saying I want him beat? Probably, but it could be a deep enough race that really, like, he could get away with running to the 150s and win it. But that's my concern, that he wouldn't be beaten too much. Goes and wins the race. All of a sudden, they think he could be a stayers hurdle horse again. I don't know. It's their decision to make, but that's my sort of view on that. I wouldn't be wanting to back him, that's for sure. Charlie Hall, surname obviously looks well, he looked real good in the race last, didn't he? Like, looks like the one to obviously go and beat. There are certain terms that are in here. Like, I like Chamblou. I know he got battered by Chantry at Aintree, but we know what Dan Skelton was like at the start of the season compared to the end of the season. Maybe he can get Chamblou Flyer in sooner, and then we can see a decent performance from him. Obviously, only getting £3 from Surname is going to be one hell of a hard feat to do, but it just depends what sort of Surname turns up, doesn't it? He's definitely the one to beat. I don't know whether Fusel Raffles will actually run in him or not. I liked him stepping up at the middle distance for Aintree, and that didn't quite work out, because he bled. He'd be an interesting one just to see go that trip. Like, he feels like he's been around forever, but he's only 6 going 7. So I'd at least like to see him tested. And given that this isn't going to be the hardest of races in terms of depth, I know he's running against horses that have proved they stay, but this might actually be a fairly easy entry into finding out about his stamina. So be interested to see what they do with him. Then the Bet365 novices hurdle. I don't know. I can't remember if it was here or it was Ascot, where there's a couple that are entered of interest. Pick Hana. This will be one that, if my boy Aaron watches this, then probably won't be happy for me mentioning it. We fancied this one at Aintree. It was in a bumper where we know there's good risk at all form from Newbury bumper. Like, the form looks solid. He was in a maiden hurdle, over 2.5 miles at Aintree. Was pulled out on account of the ground, but it was wet enough ground for it to run on. So we feel like, I don't know, maybe they didn't run because they knew that there was a couple of much better horses in there. The horses had a reasonable break in between the 2 runs, but we read the blog and the trainer was basically saying that the owners have just been patient. So it's not like he's had a major issue or there's major problems with him. They've just been happy to be patient to let him mature a bit. We think he's potentially quite good. I'm not saying that he's a Grade 1 horse or like a Cheltenham pony or a festival horse in the springtime, but I do think he's very interesting if he runs here. So whenever he runs next, we'll probably be backing him, and I hope that he goes in here. Like, I don't know what price he'd be here, but he was a 20s poke for that race at Aintree on Sunday, so it's far shorter priced horses that will run that have got worse form than him, I think. So that's an interesting one that's worth a mention. We'll squeeze our way over to Ascot, because there's a few... Like, I'm going to go through the lot at Ascot because there's a couple that I wanted to mention that maybe not. Kazans, I think, runs tomorrow, does he not? At Stratford, maybe? I think he's due to come out. 50 ball, semi-interesting, isn't he? But for more, not sure I like him. Solo, interesting. Jocked up with Lorcan on as well. Sam Barton, there's more to come from him, isn't there? Nassalam, the one I put up for the Triumph, what a boy. Decent race, isn't it? We've got this London Handicap hurdle. So Boot Hill's in here. He's only had the 1 hurdle run. He's been given a handicap mark here. Now, I don't know. I can't remember exactly how it pans out with novice handicap chase. I think they have to have experience to run them. I'm not sure, but basically he can run off over fences off that mark now, or we might need to have one more run. They've got him in a novice chase on Sunday. So whether they're running Boot Hill off this mark because they think he's well in, or what they're doing with him, I'll be interested to see what they do with Boot Hill. Essentially, I do know that he's got medication for a knee issue that he's got. So any horse that's got a slight frailty does obviously worry you slightly, but that'll be an interesting race, and there'll be winners in behind from that race for the season as it goes on. There's a few nice ones, isn't there? Sully Dock's basically entered to run. I don't know if it runs. It wouldn't be in the 3 mile, would it? Sully Dock is entered up to run over the weekend. He did this before, run at Ascot, was suspiciously ridden to my eye. There he is. Suspiciously ridden to my eye, and then he went on to Newbury where we bumped into Fanny and D'Estrevale, but Newbury was definitely the day for him to go in. So you can see it there. Like, I think he was... that was when he won. This is the year where he was... I don't think he was really weakening, and he drifted as well. And then it was there, Newbury, where he was behind Fanny and D'Estrevale, where I fancied him, and I think we just bumped into one. So I'll be interested to see what they do with him. Like, I feel like maybe they might be setting him up for Newbury, but I could be wrong. Like, he's got course form, hasn't he? But yeah, he'd be like one for me to watch as opposed to punting for tomorrow anyway. Sorry, tomorrow on Saturday. I'm not navigating this screen so well. Sorry, I've got dog whining in the background at the minute. There's something else at Ascot on Saturday that's more exciting. Sorry, I'm just having a little squeeze at the titles of them. This bumper horse, good risk at all. So, like, I don't necessarily need to peel it out, but I like to move. It was in behind. Basically, my eye was in there for Harry Fry, that's come out and dotted up since. Like, he won the bumper that looks red hot. Got a couple of entries, I think. Hopefully, he's going to come here, but like looks potentially like a really nice horse. He's going to be very, very well found in the market, so would be much more of a watching brief than anything else for me. But I like Ascot as a track. How well it translates, like I say, to something like a Cheltenham for March, I'm not so confident it does, but we still do get some nice horses that run in there. Sorry, just having a look at what was ended up in the bumper, because there isn't any names that jumped up. So basically that's Saturday sort of covered in it. This is a very loose weekend preview in it. Carlisle, we've got some decent racing there. Cork, I think we've got some nice ones running over there as well. Let's try and have a little skim. I'm just trying to make sure that I get the names of the ones that we knew we needed to be keeping an eye on all mentioned, because half the purpose of this, isn't it? Oh, we don't, no disrespect, we don't really care about the mares. 3 mile hurdle, so this is a listed novice hurdle. The better race will be the one on Friday with Hollow Games. I mean, like of that, I have no doubt. But I do like my staying novice hurdlers. See, Beaconedge could go there. Blurberry didn't have much to beat the last day, but won it nicely. Ron Wild Fred's an interesting one. National Hunt Tracy type of horse, isn't he, for Gordo? Given the fact that he is second season novice. Cape Gentleman's in there. Even French Dynamite was tight, wasn't he? Looks okay there. I'm not going to even go into the Cork Grand National. Let's be honest, no point. And then this is the mare's bumper, where I think it is just Bell 80 or that. Yeah, I hope she runs, to be honest with you. And then we'll squeeze over to Carlisle. Like, I'm going to go through the races, but I don't think there was too much to squeeze me in. No. The sad reality, isn't it, when you're looking at the British side of things, that especially when you look at the novice hurdlers, there isn't too much to get less excited about at the moment, is there? Over the last couple of years anyway. So the Colin Parker Memorial Intermediate Chase, Chantry House won the Mildmay, and then it goes and runs at, Fusel Raffles won that for Henderson, and then went to run at Sandown in the intermediate chase, or the graduation chase that's there. Just key to remember that Fusel's flopped over the longer distances after winning the Mildmay. And then did go and pull up in the Ryanair. But Chantry House has got the line of form, hasn't he, where he was third in a Supreme, and every horse that's finished in the top 3 in a Supreme that's running a Gold Cup, like, has won it, and they or something ridiculous. So he looked real good, didn't he, at Aintree, and he's always been well touted as a nice horse. Sporting John, I suspect, is more likely to come here, and then Chantry will be safe for Sandown. There, Fusel's got the option to potentially come in here, and 2.5 miles is much more to his liking, isn't it? So you could see that being the Henderson runner. You see Sporting John running for Hobbs. I think that would probably be how I'd see the race go. Myself, it'd be like Hoy Senior would be interesting, the fact that he's jocked to go in here. Given the fact that he was a novice hurdler, the conditions of these types of races mean that you get some reasonable weight if you run in here. That's why Brave Man's Game did it against the other kids. But when you look at the class of some of the horses that have won this, like your Waiting Patience, even Mr. Whitaker, to be fair to, Lost in Translation, Imperial Aura, like Sapphire de Ruse, and there, Many Clouds, like, they tend to be proper horses. Like, you got to go back to Tidal Bays in there. So no disrespect to Hoy Senior, but I think you just get found out in there. Like, and again, like, talking about proper horses, like, I like Fusels, but he's 150s, isn't he? Maybe could run to a 160 on a good day. It'll be interesting to see what goes in there, but that would be my feel for it. I would suspect that Sporting John Fusels would be the two bigger names that would run, and I'd suspect Chantry would be saved for Sandown. I don't even know if there's anything in this extended bumper that would even lure me into have an interest. No, so we've had a look. So basically, the weekend preview stuff. As things ramp up and I get a bit more of a stronger opinion, and I'm starting to punt, then I will do them in a bit more depth, and I'll start digging into the certain races where I really do fancy something and talk through that a bit more. As it stands at the moment, it is very early in the season. Like, I went racing Friday and Sunday, and again, just like sort of lack of discipline, really. Like, I was having a few bets on, but they're nothing that I was like strongly fancying. It was more the social side of things than anything. Like, I still do all right out of doing that, but my main focus this season still is no anti-post punting. I want to see how my view changes come March, and I reckon I can still pick out a good few chunks of winners there. So hopefully my view anti-post will still be there. Like, I'll still be able to keep the right horses on the radar for people, hopefully. And then I think when it comes to March, I think like for actual proper Cheltenham preview, when it's the time to do it, I think my view will probably be even more valuable, because hopefully I'll have seen it with fresher eyes. I won't be invested in there like I have been all the previous years. But from a punting perspective, I'm still waiting for the ones that I really fancy and the ones that I want to get stuck into. Obviously, this early in the season, there's going to be very far and few between where you really, really fancy something making its novice hurdle debut or its chasing debut, because obviously you'd like to know that they can jump and you would like to know their well-being. There'll be a few handicap horses that will be coming out where I like to think that they'll be going well, but then sometimes they need their first run, they're being brought on for it. But there are a couple in November that I know that I've got earmarked, and that I know have been set up for their races in those months, or in November. So pretty confident there'll be some bets coming up fairly soon, especially when we've got the Ladbroke Winter Carnival coming up. We've got the November meeting at Cheltenham. Like, there's some seriously good action coming up. So when I get to the point that I fancy more things, these weekend previews will probably be maybe not so much that they'll be coming out more frequently, but I think there'll be more substance to them. They'll be more worthwhile paying attention to. So admittedly, I've said this right at the end of the video, so no one will be watching anyway. But if you have lasted this long, then persevere with it. Basically, is all I'd say. That as soon as I start fancying stuff, I'll change the subject. I'll change the title on the video, so you'll know they're ones that I fancy. I'll try not to waffle too much about bits that I don't need to. I'll keep away from the ones that I'll be saying, these are the ones that I'll just be watching. I'd save that stuff for the end of the video, and I'd just give you the gold at the start. But how it's going to pan out this season, I don't know. I'm confident in my ability. A lot of it comes down to price point as well, which I know people will just say back the winners, but I'm a massive... I know that you have to be backing them at the right price for it to work. So fingers crossed we can start getting stuck into some before Christmas, and then we'll review it a little bit there. But as I say, there'll be some Cheltenham focused content coming out beginning next week, because it will have been the end of October. We're going to talk about the stuff that's happened this weekend, and I'll just give you my rundown of the novice hurdles, novice chases, the established chases, things like that, the main races, the championship races, what my viewpoint is on each of those races as it stands now. And if I was having any post punts, maybe where my suggestion would go towards that. And then I'll do the piece that I've got with the Facebook guys, where people have put in there their selections for the races, which I think will be helpful just to see like-minded people put in there. And then when you see a couple of curveballs that are thrown in there, yes, it could be an absolute idiot that's just thrown something out there for no reason. But if it just means you've got to go and Google a couple more names to see a bit of history about them, maybe they will point out something that wasn't on your radar or my radar that will do us a favour. So I'm going to cut this off now. Thank you, as always, for your support. And fingers crossed, things will start ramping up from next week.